One of the biggest questions surrounding Oklahoma in 2025 is their quarterback. Is he legit? Is John Mateer capable of playing at a high level in the SEC? We'll take a dive into what John Mateer can do for this team and whether or not we think he's a quality player or a guy that is going to struggle in this new conference. Now, one of the things that you really can't question about John Mateer is the confidence that he has in himself. When you look at what he did at Washington State, he did a lot of things with talent that is going to be considered inferior to what Oklahoma brings to the table. And a lot of it is going to be his supporting cast. But also, this is a guy that played really well in certain games. And then obviously, we saw some struggles in others. When you look at what he did at Washington State, he was a big reason why they had success. I mean, obviously, that is the case because he doesn't get an offer from Oklahoma if he doesn't have the success that he did. Now, when you look at some of the games he had, you look at the Washington game specifically, a 50% completion percentage, not exactly great. 245 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, 16 rushes for 62 yards. Some of these games, you're going to look at the stat line, and this is just a reason why you don't just rely on the box score. But to an average fan, you might think that wasn't the greatest game. And while it wasn't his best game, sometimes you're going to need him to just be competitive and make certain plays at key moments. And that's a game that they won. He's a big reason why they won that game. He's a big reason why they had success. And in the SEC, it's going to be tough sledding. You're going to have games in which you don't play your best, but you have to find ways to play in key moments. And I think at times John Mateer did that better than a lot of people realize. Now, you also have games where you look at what he did against Boise State. And again, this is why you don't just look at the box score, because if you looked at the Washington game and the Boise State game, you'd be like, well, the Boise State game, he clearly played better. Completed over 70% of his passes for 327 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, but he ran the ball 20 times for 28 yards. Boise State had Washington State's offense completely frustrated last year, and Washington State didn't really have an answer for Ashton Jeanty. So that's kind of hard to put on Mateer, but also the reason why he had so many passing yards is they couldn't really do much running the football. Boise State had them swarmed, and they figured out that, hey, we're going to have to throw the ball, and now that we're behind, we really have to throw it. So again, the box score doesn't really do justice. But I think overall, when you look at the games that he's had, you're seeing a guy who's solid. And when you look at what he had to do last year, a lot of times John Mateer was the offense. And sometimes that's good. Other times it's going to be challenging. So while you do have games, the Boise State game is a good example of John Mateer did what he needed to do, but the team overall had its struggles. And then you look at even some of the games at the end of the year. The New Mexico game, 375 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He also ran for 65 yards and 1 touchdown. The Oregon State game, 250 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air, 75 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. You're looking at games that he's playing well, and his team is not playing up to that same level. And that was part of Washington State's struggles, especially down the stretch. You're hoping that when you join Oklahoma, there's going to be an increase in talent around you. So you don't have to make a lot of those plays on your own. You don't have to do some of these things by yourself. Now, it'll be fun to watch this offense that gives him, I think, when healthy, a better supporting cast. Wayshawn Parker was great at running back, but Jaden Ott is a better running back when healthy. And he comes in from Cal, could have gone to a number of schools, chooses the Sooners over a lot of them, and he'll be a fun pairing with John Mateer. That is a rushing attack that should be really good, assuming that the offensive line can, 1, stay healthy, and 2, take their game to a level that people expect them to. The wide receiver position has to stay healthy. John Mateer has the talent to distribute the football. You saw injuries just tear apart this wide receiver room last year. Deion Burks was a guy that they were really excited about. Didn't get to see him most of the year. If he stays on the field, if he can stay healthy, this is a team that has a lot of excitement for the 2025 season. And even some of the clips we've seen out of fall camp, this is a team that's driving a lot of excitement to their fan base because of the new faces they have coming in, because of the talent that is coming back and getting healthy. So guys like Burks, Jaden Gibson, you bring in Giovanni Gibson and Isaiah Satanga, those are guys that are going to drive the excitement for the explosiveness of the offense, because this was an offense that, let's be honest, was not the best last year, was not a group that you expected to see. And that's why you make changes. You bring in John Mateer to run your offense. You bring a guy who's going to be familiar with the system that's brought in, because Ben Arbuckle is coming to run the offense that John Mateer ran last year at Washington State. Those two are a nice pairing to have. And I think that you bring the excitement that is John Mateer, and you bring an offense that should help improve this group in 2025. That's going to be the biggest thing. This is a defense that loses quite a bit of talent, but also returns guys that are going to make life very miserable for a lot of teams that they face. The offense just has to get up to speed. And this is a team that gets 1 week kind of to figure things out before they host Michigan. That Michigan game will tell us a lot about if this team is ready, because while Michigan has its own struggles on offense, that defense is going to make life miserable if you're not careful. If John Mateer and this offense aren't ready for Michigan, that's a defense that can tear you apart and make you question your goals for 2025. However, this is an offense that has the talent to shred apart that Michigan defense and send a message to the SEC. Now, you do have opportunities to get off to a potential 5-0 start. The Auburn game will also be challenging, but if you're able to beat Michigan, I like Oklahoma's chances to beat Auburn as well. And the other non-conference games don't worry me one bit. So you could be 5-0 heading into the game against Texas. And that game, regardless of what this Oklahoma team is up for grabs. The other tough part about being in the SEC is that once you start the Texas game, after that, you don't really catch a break. You go to South Carolina, you host Ole Miss, you go to Tennessee and to Alabama, and then you host Missouri and host LSU to end the year. There's not really a break in that schedule. There's not really a chance for you to catch your breath. This is a weekly challenge, a weekly battle for Oklahoma, and they're very aware of that now. Brent Venables knows what his team needs to do to get to a point where they're competitive on a weekly basis, and he understands and is trying to implement that expectation within his team. That's why you bring in some new talent, but also it's nice to have certain players back that will help breed that culture, help get you to the point where this is what we expect, this is what we're going to do, and John Mateer is going to play a big role in that. And how he plays in big games is going to play a big role in their success. And when you look at what he did at Washington State, the competition obviously is not comparable, but John Mateer played well in certain games, and in those big games, even if he didn't play his best, he made key plays. So this is a guy that if you get the right players around him, I think that he has the ability to be one of the better quarterbacks in college football and within the SEC, obviously. I think that the confidence he carries about himself, the knowledge he has in this offense, he's going to be teaching some of these guys this offense. And that's a huge thing for a leader. This is a program that obviously has talented guys, but if your quarterback who's just coming into the program is teaching you things about the intricacies of the offense, that's going to ramp up the respect that he gets from his teammates, especially his new teammates. He's going to get them up to speed. He gives them a dual threat ability that hopefully elevates this program. And if that is the case, Oklahoma is going to be in a great spot. Brent Venables will have no concerns about his hot seat. It's pretty much going to go away. And with Venables calling the defense, you expect that group to play really well in 2025, in addition to an offense that should be better. So it's going to be fun. We're going to find out pretty quick if John Mateer is legit. Curious to see what everybody else thinks about how good John Mateer can actually be. If he is, Oklahoma is going to be fun. If not, it's another long season for the Oklahoma Sooners in 2025.